Story follows Godzilla through the human characters. A new titan is on the horizon that poses a threat to every life form in the world, including Hollow Earth. Back on the surface, Godzilla is in a state of disarray, consuming radiation from reactors all over the planet and having random outbursts firing his beam and pulse sporadically. There are lesions throughout his body with pieces of his scales falling off and dorsal plates chipping. His skin a dark charcoal gray with the charge up flickering like a light bulb shorting out. The beam is erratic, not always firing, as if his internal reactor is compromised. While Monarch and the military scramble to find out what's going on with Godzilla, there are mass deaths happening in the Gulf of Mexico. As of now, it seems to be contained to this region, and all reports of deaths are water-related. People were last seen drinking, then suffocating seconds later. Others died in showers on beaches and locations where it rained. Monarch is in the area investigating when Godzilla arrives and unleashes a flurry of beams, but only aimed at the water. Confused at why he's attacking the ocean, reports come in that show an unknown microbe inside all of the bodies they autopsied. Knowing Godzilla can detect threats, a Monarch biologist tests the ocean water and discovers in it the same microbe from the autopsies, leading them to surmise that this must be the reason why Godzilla is in such a condition. The microbes have been eating at Godzilla, but due to his regenerative properties, he's also healing, leaving him in a perpetual cycle of pain. While reviewing top-secret documents in a makeshift Monarch outpost, an indistinguishable male figure that turns out to be Alan Jonah enters. They compare notes and reveal that the microbe has DNA from Ghidorah, a Precambrian crustacean, and having traces of the oxygen destroyer that was detonated in the area. They give this newly discovered life form a code name of Destroyer. Days pass when thousands of human-sized creatures emerge from the ocean. They proceed to run rampant throughout coastal regions, bringing the battle to mankind's front door. Spreading further inland and reaching South America, Godzilla finds Behemoth dead, resembling the look of being mummified. Seeing the culprits and sensing a familiar foe, it sends Godzilla into a frenzy as he was Behemoth's protector. Knowing he must eradicate every cell, he lets out a beam engulfing the whole area, followed by a pulse, then another beam until there are no traces of the creatures, then lets out a roar expressing pain, anger, and dominance. Studying carcasses ensuing the conflict, they find these creatures most likely evolved from the microbes, dubbing them as a second-stage destroyer and prompting Monarch to contact their Hollow Earth bases for an update on the situation there. Dr. Eileen Andrews, Gia, Bernie Hayes, and Trapper are stationed at an outpost near Kong's new domain where he relocated his newly acquired tribe. As of now, it seems the threat is exclusive to the surface, but they remain wary. Kong is acting strange, as if he can sense something is off, signing to Gia that he can feel Godzilla is in distress. In the dead of night, the most visceral roar can be heard in the distance with a thundering tone that causes the windows to rattle. In response, Monarch sets out to learn where it came from. And knowing the G-Man, he should be on the hunt too. Following a trail of destruction that leads to a dried-up Mississippi River, there are no traces of life but plenty of decayed corpses, human and fauna alike. Vehicles and other man-made structures have turned to ash, while the wood on trees have been petrified. As Monarch is in pursuit, Godzilla is seen headed in the same direction as them. Their paths lead to the Great Lakes. A battle proceeds in the dried-up lake bed between Godzilla and a third-stage destroyer that rivals Godzilla in size. But Godzilla's irregular and unstable power set proves to be too much. Destroyer leaves Godzilla with a fatal-looking wound from its horn that appeared to have injected something into him. Monarch and the military catch up with Destroyer at Mount Rushmore and a skirmish takes place. Destroyer releases an aerosol breath, leaving nothing but dust and death in its wake. Back at the Great Lakes, Monarch puts a perimeter up around Godzilla as a Monarch team and onlookers surround the lake bed gazing at Godzilla. They can't help but think this may be his final resting place. After a brief moment of inert silence, Godzilla opens an eye, and from his point of view, we see Kong reaching down and taking a knee next to him. Kong places the tip of the charged-up axe onto Godzilla's wound, mending it. Andrews translates what Gia is saying about how they need to get Godzilla into one of the ancient temples where his kind was once worshipped. As Kong aids Godzilla to his feet, they reach the Hollow Earth vortex where they came from that was located under the Great Lakes Stonehenge. Once Godzilla enters the temple, the crystals, carvings on the pillars, walls, and floors illuminate with energy. This energy travels to Godzilla, engulfing him. A more earthy brownish olive skin tone sets in and his dorsal plates shatter, revealing a bigger set of the 2014 design. The room lights up so bright that even Kong has to cover his eyes and exit. Meanwhile, in the Grand Canyon, there is a thick mist concealing Destroyer in it. No one can come within a 1-mile radius due to the oxygen-destroying properties in the mist. After mankind has thrown everything they could at it and failed, Godzilla makes his big entrance from a Hollow Earth vortex located at an ancient temple site in the Grand Canyon. Bursting out at the cliffside and into the canyon, Godzilla, bulked up and pissed, he charges towards where Destroyer is. Emanating with blinding silver flakes, Godzilla dispenses the mist, revealing a 4th-stage destroyer. Even bigger than before, now dwarfing Ghidorah and Shimo in size and mass. Even still, Godzilla will not back down from a confrontation. Both let out a war cry before engaging in battle. The two titans rampage throughout the national park, destroying mountains and rock formations. The flaking melts away at Destroyer but doesn't cause lasting damage due to his Ghidorah cells. The flakes are a mix of Destroyer microbes and radiation being expelled from his body. Godzilla's beam impulse remained white for the duration of this, afterwards becoming an Egyptian blue. Destroyer's horn lights up, and like a camera flashing, only the residual effects of the path it traveled are visible. The attack has properties of Ghidorah's gravity beam and O2 Destroyer. When it hits Godzilla, the damage is significant. The mist Destroyer expels from its mouth disrupts the water molecules in cells, causing evaporation with long enough contact. Pinning Godzilla down, Destroyer vomits the mist into his face, covering Godzilla's head for a brief moment before a beam of ice strikes it. The chemical reaction immediately causes the mist to molder. A familiar roar is heard, and we see Kong on Shimo's back riding into battle. A 3v1 commences, turning the Grand Canyon National Park into a literal hellscape. Shimo's frostbite renders Destroyer's mist obsolete, but his horn flash has a potent effect on all the Titans. It's shattering multiple crystals on Shimo's back, decimating Kong's beast glove as Destroyer repeatedly overpowers all three Titans. After a long, drawn-out battle, they finally gain the upper hand. Shimo freezes Destroyer's wings, preventing him from fleeing. Kong throws the charged-up axe at one wing, while Godzilla fires a beam at the other, causing both to shatter. After the smoke clears, Destroyer rises, looking more evil than before, with his horn now pulsating red. Godzilla, Shimo, and Kong all charge him at once, and Destroyer showcases a new power. He spins while releasing an energy horn swipe that slices clean through all three Titans. The energy swipe has O2 Destroyer properties, but with Shimo's icy makeup and Godzilla's radiation and healing factor, they are able to combat it. Kong gets it the worst. It starts to eat away at his flesh, but he uses the axe to cauterize the wound, preventing it from permeating. Destroyer does a 1080 energy horn swipe while releasing the O2 mist in an attempt to buy time for his wings to rejuvenate. Kong moves to a safe distance while Shimo blasts the frostbite and Godzilla rushes towards Destroyer. Godzilla grabs Destroyer by the horn, breaks it off, then tosses it aside. Bear-hugging Destroyer, Godzilla wrestles him backwards while charging up. Wielding the axe and horn frozen by Shimo, Kong jumps onto Destroyer's back and embeds both into the sides of his neck. Godzilla grabs the growing wings and forces them shut, snapping them at the joints in the process. He finishes charging up, steps back, then fires a spiral heat ray at the axe until it explodes. Godzilla continues to fire the spiral heat ray until there are no Destroyer remains left. Kong returns with Shimo to the hollow earth, and Godzilla finally gets to rest.